More and more business leaders understand the value and importance of improving employee well-being. And that really is backed up by the evidence into the business case for improving employee well-being. But even the most committed well-being champion would be justified in wondering where to start, in wondering how to cut through the noise and figure out which interventions actually improve employee well-being at scale.
For most of us, work plays a central role in our lives that provides more than a source of income, but a sense of identity, meaning, purpose, and community. We spend a significant portion of our lives at work, and people often refer to their job as their livelihood. Hence the questions, what do you do for a living? Or what do you want to be when you grow up? So all that said, work takes up a large portion of our life and therefore represents a space with tremendous opportunity for well-being improvement. So in other words, if we can figure out how to best cultivate workplace well-being, we can potentially improve the quality of people's lives, both at an individual, family, and societal level.
Our revised and expanded Work Wellbeing Playbook, which we're calling Playbook 2.0, has been designed to democratize access to high-end research insights so that business leaders everywhere are equipped to improve employee well-being at scale. It continues to bring together the latest academic evidence around interventions to improve workplace well-being. And once again, we've coupled our academic expertise with our expertise as real-world practitioners to distill those academic insights into a much more concise and user-friendly framework tool that busy business leaders can use to craft holistic work well-being strategies. Now, Playbook 2.0 is easier to navigate than ever before. That's because we've categorized all of those drivers according to 6 broader domains of work well-being. And we've captured that under the handy acronym DRIVER. This edition of the playbook recognizes our commitment to continuous learning. We've designed Playbook 2.0 as a living review. This is a resource that will evolve with the science. But one thing hasn't changed, and that is our empathy for our audience, for busy business leaders. We continue to keep this resource concise and user-friendly, but we also recognize that some of you like to dive into the detail. So we will also continue to include a comprehensive list of citations to enable you to do just that.
This diagram represents the conceptual foundation of Playbook 2.0, a structured and comprehensive model that connects the key drivers of workplace well-being to the outcomes that matter for organizational performance. At the center of the framework is the employee experience itself, expressed through 4 core dimensions: job satisfaction, meaning and purpose, positive emotions, and negative emotions. Those experiences then activate what we call the pathways to performance. So in essence, Playbook 2.0 represents workplace well-being as a dynamic system. The drivers create the conditions, those conditions shape lived experience, and that experience fuels the outcomes that sustain performance.
We always recommend that a critical first step is for organizations to measure what you treasure. So measure, first of all, how your employees are feeling, using the science-based measures we recommend. But that's only the first step, because that's only going to tell you how your employees are feeling and not why they're feeling that way. And that's why the drivers of employee well-being are so important. There are so many factors or drivers that lead us to feel the way we do.
So when you want to know how people feel, you ask about how satisfied they are with their jobs, or whether they're happy at work, or have little stress, or whether they feel a sense of purpose in the work they're doing. Those are outcomes. But that's driven by, or explained by, if you will, by items such as, are they being paid fairly? Do they have a sense of belonging, a sense of flexibility to be able to balance work and life? Are they having supportive managers and supportive peers? So these more qualitative elements of what make a job, those elements help explain why they feel a certain way.
By doing this, you can identify which drivers your organization is performing poorly at, and that can inform your bespoke work wellbeing strategy.
Our experience of life is fundamentally shaped by our experience at work. Most full-time employees spend at least a third of their life between the ages of around 18 and mid to late 60s. And so how our experience of that, the opportunities that we get, the harms that we receive, studying this is really vital to understanding people's life course and their social relationships, their health and well-being outcomes. The importance of work well-being can't be stressed enough for people's overall life experiences.
So one of the insights coming back from the world's largest study on workplace well-being, thanks to our partnership with Indeed, where we've crowdsourced now over 20 million company reviews. One of the key insights around the drivers of workplace well-being is that what people think matters most isn't necessarily what actually is most predictive of their workplace well-being scores. So for example, when we ask people, what do you think is most important in driving well-being at work? They'll say, I want to be compensated fairly, I want flexibility. But when we actually run the analysis, what we find is that things such as a sense of belonging, trusting others, and more, those things have been undervalued when it comes to thinking about it and actually turn out to be really, really important in making you happy while on the job and retaining you as a talent for the organization.
We've drilled down to look at the drivers of well-being and changes that can be made to the work practices that shape those drivers. So whether that's about the learning opportunities, whether it's about the pay structures, the scheduling structures, the support mechanisms, all of these types of, all of these dimensions at work, we've looked at all of the literature that seeks ways to change these practices for the better of workers. The outcome of this, we've developed it into a menu written as such, so it's easy to read, easy to be consumed by HR managers to learn what the best practices are, learn from the best evidence that's out there or what we know of it. And the idea is really to transmit what is in the scientific evidence base that help get it into workplaces so that we can improve working lives.
There are so many factors that need to be considered for an intervention to be rolled out effectively. So if you think about training is something that we suggest quite often across multiple drivers, but a lot of training programs are ineffective. And this has to do largely with the transfer of training. So I experienced this several times where I would go to a training program that maybe was required by my employer, or it was something that I was just interested in and wanted to do, and I had the privilege to enroll. And either it didn't support my learning style, or it was poorly designed, or the translating the knowledge or the skills into everyday practice, there was a massive disconnect. And so this is an example of how we might suggest training, but actually providing your employees with access to a quality training program that is well designed, well thought out to suit the needs of your workforce in your particular industry is really important. Having a say in workplace decision-making not only makes employees feel more valued and empowered at work, but they are key stakeholders in the business who possess very valuable information that can be incredibly helpful for not only improving workplace well-being, but also performance. So one thing that we continuously try and promote throughout all stages of figuring out your workplace well-being score, or how employees would gauge their workplace well-being, to identifying a potential area for an intervention, designing an intervention, implementing it, evaluating, involve employees in every stage of the process. So it's important that business decisions are well researched and supported by quality evidence to minimize waste, and whether that be waste of resources, waste of time, energy, but also to avoid unintended outcomes that could potentially make well-being worse. So we've essentially tried to put in all that hard work to deliver a useful suite of possibilities to consider. I think that it's a great first step towards achieving workplace well-being. It's definitely not, a foolproof solution, but it can definitely get you to where you want to go much quicker.
We want this revised and expanded Work Wellbeing Playbook 2.0 to get into the hands of as many business leaders as possible, so that we can truly improve employee well-being at scale. That's why we have made this resource free to access. All you need to do is go to our website, worldwellbeingmovement.org/playbook, and start to explore all of those drivers and interventions. As a charity, we remain incredibly grateful to all of our corporate and philanthropic supporters who have enabled us to do the work we do for the public good. And for this particular publication, we'd like to say a very sincere thank you to the recruitment company Indeed.